Hello, young voters. Thank you for clicking on this video today. Me and Vikaas, as well as a special guest Kavish, are going to be talking about the market, and we're going to be talking about what is going on with GME. Um, some people may not know. Obviously, there's been a lot of stuff circling around. Um, and if you don't know the situation, this is the perfect video for you. And then stick around to the end for our sort of more political analysis of what this means in broader aspects. So Kavish, I'm just going to let you take it away. Why did this stock explode in relevancy? Who's doing it, and why is it happening? And yeah.
All right, so I know a lot of news coverage you may have seen that's been trying to explain it, but a lot of what they've been saying isn't completely the full picture. So I would kind of disregard what many news sources have been saying, as there's a lot of market manipulation that's going on. So I'll just start from the beginning. Around in late December, early January, a group on Reddit called Wall Street Bets, which is a group where a bunch of amateur traders just go around and they tell each other about good stocks, what they like, what they're going to invest in. And it reached around 2 million members, and people decided that it was maybe time to, unite everyone and buy into a single stock. So there's a method of trading called shorting, which is where big companies will bet against a company. So in this example, a company called Melvin Capital was betting, I think, around $500 million that GameStop was going to crash and fail. So they essentially would make a crap ton of money while all of the employees would essentially lose their jobs. So it's kind of deemed as a very unethical method of trading. So people don't like it. So especially in this Reddit community, Wall Street Bets, people hated shorters. So everyone decided, it'd be funny if we all bought stock in GameStop and ended up screwing these big traders, because they'd end up losing money because they bet that the market would go down, but instead it went up. So a bunch of people just started buying in as much as they could into the stock, and soon it went up to $45, $60. And then late January or mid-January, something called a short squeeze happened, which is when, because the market's going up, short sellers panic and they end up uh, selling all their short positions, and they buy more stock to recover their lost money, which in turn just drives the stock price up. So that happened when it first jumped up to $100, and it happened again when it jumped up to $300. Now, the main issue of this came when Melvin Capital, the main company that was shorting GameStop, decided to use market manipulation tactics to help boost down the stock. So I don't know if you've heard, but CNBC is a very popular stock news network. And one of the things they did is they said that Melvin Capital actually removed their stocks in the shorts in GameStop, which is actually false. So people got really angry because they try to convince a lot of people that because the short amount was down, the short squeeze wouldn't end up happening. The stock wouldn't jump up. So they try to get people to stop buying stocks, in turn allowing the company price to drop. And then the big company, Melvin Capital, could make more money off of that. So people were really pissed about that. And the second kind of straw happened when a popular trading platform, Robinhood, ended up blocking anyone from buying or selling or taking out margin. They increased margin levels for GameStop, AMC, BlackBerry, Nokia, and a few other very popular stocks. And it basically ended up tanking the share about $150. And a lot of people lost their money, since Robinhood forced people to actually cancel their orders, which ended up selling what they had at the lowest point. So a ton of people lost money. And people were pointing this out, maybe that because Robinhood was owned by the same Citadel, the same company that owned Melvin Capital, that it was some sort of manipulation. I'm not entirely sure myself, since I think the SEC still has to investigate this, but most of it came from that Robinhood just simply did not have enough funds to process these orders, and they've been raising more money, but they had to cancel a lot of these orders. But there was a lot of misinformation that's been spread around that helped people get very angry towards Robinhood, and that's why a lot of this kind of issue that came upon politically, as prominent figures like AOC, Ted Cruz, even Elon Musk tweeted about it, that they think that this type of manipulation, even if the Robinhood thing wasn't direct manipulation, it was it did end up manipulating the stock market, and that type of stuff should not be happening. So that's where I guess a lot of the hype behind the GameStop just came by, as people liked stock and they were just considered a meme stock, where because a lot of people liked the stock, they just memed the net worth into existence. Even though GameStop's a terrible company and should be bankrupt, it is very high valued right now, and it's caused a lot of issues for these big companies who are losing a crap ton. I think they've lost close to $4 billion because of this, and they're very pissed, and they're trying to whatever they can to make money. So I guess that's where the political issue of regulation within the stock market and what normal people can be doing that big companies are not allowed to do, and how the big companies are pissed because they can't do this type of pump and dump that Wall Street Bets is trying to accomplish because they're just a bunch of people. So that's kind of my take on what happened, and just a summary of exactly the events that played through, since a lot of companies like Vice, CNBC, they just try to talk about what happened. They really haven't experienced or been in the community enough to know why GameStop really blew up. So that's kind of my take, Nico.
So, one clarifying question, I guess. So, is the exploding in like the price, obviously, because it. So, for those who don't know, the GameStop price was about about $5 when Wall Street Bets started talking about this. So, obviously now it's hundreds of dollars. So, if you bought it at $5, you're gonna be making a lot of money. So the question is, there's some reports, and correct me if I'm wrong, Kavish, that $5 was wow. GameStop is not a good company. That was an undervalued stock, due to a couple things that happened. Um, Before was, for example, they installed a new like board of directors that looked prominent. They had some big announcements that should have drove up their stock price, but because what happens when there's a lot of like a lot of money going into shorting, because the way shorting works basically is it ends up driving down the stock price because it makes it look like a lot of people are selling. And if you're just a regular investor and you see, or even the algorithms see that there's a lot of sales going on GameStop, they might get nervous and also sell. And that's just how stocks work. If a lot of people start selling, the price starts going down. So the price was kind of undervalued there. And the people at Melvin Capital, they were shorting tremendous amounts. They were shorting so much that they were shorting more stocks than that were in existence. And the reason why this is like possible is because the way shorting works is you're betting on the value of the company you're shorting going down, basically because you from your broker, I believe, you'll borrow one of that stock. You take that stock, you borrow it, and then you you sell it to somebody else, turning that stock price into cash. So if the stock was $100 when you borrowed it from your broker, you sell it to someone for $100. You sold one stock, and then you wait until the stock price goes down. You buy the stock for $90, give it back to your broker, and pocket the $10. So that's how shorting works, right, Kavish?
Yeah, so that's exactly how it works. So they'll either buy a stock from someone else. So shorting is you don't own the stock, and that's why I guess a lot of people don't like it. Since these companies do not own the stock, they borrow it from somewhere else, and they take that money and then they set a time frame of when they're going to give it back. And once that time frame expires or they decide to sell it in between, the money that of what how much they sell it for goes back to the owner. So they basically pocket the remaining amount. So yes, you're correct in saying that.
All right. And obviously what's in it for the broker, you might ask, they will collect interest on how much of value of the stock they gave out. So the person borrowing the stock has an incentive to pay it back in a certain time because there's interest being accumulated. Maybe say if you got 2% interest and you wait a couple of days, it's like a timing issue where you want to time it where you get as much money as possible from selling back the stock at a lower price versus how much interest. And that'll come in later with the short squeeze explanation. So basically, because of the way borrowing works, you can loan out to an item twice, even though there's one item in existence. It's just kind of a weird thing that doesn't really make too much sense. But they were shorting more stock than there actually was stock of GameStop. So this is like a ridiculous amount of shorting. Normally, shorting is pretty risky, but when you're doing this much shorting, it's just if somebody is able to notice it, it will cause you huge problems because there's so much stock being shorted that the demand is artificially going up because there's obviously more stock being shorted than exists. So that means that because when you short sell, your potential for losses is literally infinite. Since if the price of the company goes up instead of down, you still have to buy back the stock. So maybe you borrow it at $100, you sell it, you take $100 cash, but then the stock price goes up to 105. Then you have to buy the stock at 105 and give it back to your broker. So you lost $5 there. So if the stock went infinitely up, you would lose infinite amount of dollars trying to buy it back. So people recognize this on Wall Street Bets, and they said, okay, if we run up the stock price to $60 or whatever, then at that point, all these large companies, they're going to have to close their short sells, if they get worried that it might still go up, because these big companies, they're able to take some losses. They would rather lose at like $5-10 per short sell than lose almost literally everything if the stock price keeps going up. So they thought, if we invest $10 into or if we all invest our stimulus checks, the $600 stimulus checks, into buying GME, then we can force the price up, because as more people buy, the price goes up. And then at that point, investors might start getting worried, and then they're going to try and close their short sell positions, driving the stock price up even more. So even though the people at Wall Street Bets aren't really investing too much into it, they're making the people at Melvin Capital forcing them to close on their positions, or either close on the positions now and lose some money, or wait and try and ride them out, and try and uh, ride out the people at Wall Street Bets, and either win or literally take infinite losses. So that is where the short squeeze comes in, where basically at some point Melvin is going to have to close on their positions, because the interest is going to be just getting so high, that they'd be losing more money to interest than they are to how much they would take by closing their positions at a higher stock price. So they have to close it at some point, and they're going to close it in theory very quickly. At least they're going to try to. I mean, they've been offloading stocks consistently for a while, but they have so many short positions that they can't get rid of them all. And we can see, because this is all based off of publicly available data that they figure this out. We can see how much is we can guess how much is actually probably out there in short, like how much Melvin still has to close on. And a lot of people at Wall Street Bets think it's not over. In fact, some people are even saying it's not over like by any small margin. It could probably maybe go up to thousands of dollars. Is that correct, Kavish?
Yeah, so because of the nature of how shorts work and how much Melvin Capital actually put in shorts, I heard they put in even more than what they had previously, trying to actually increase their profits and take more of what they lost over. If the price continues to go up regardless or of how much money Melvin put in, Melvin will be forced to keep buying stocks to recuperate their losses, thus possibly driving the stock up maybe $1,000, possibly 2,000 if I'm being generous, but there is a very good possibility it can hit 1K by when the short squeeze starts hitting. And that'll probably happen once, I guess, more people keep buying in and the stock continues to rise up at a very fast rate.
Right. So like what does Robin have to do with this? Like what is Robin Hood's role in this particular scenario?
Great question. So, as far as I understand, Robinhood is the main trading platform that Wall Street Bets like to use, and a lot of day traders like to use, because normally with your broker, you have to pay them obviously some sort of money for their services, because they went to school and got a degree on and their experience in trading stocks, so they'll make the decisions for you. But with Robinhood, you make your own decisions, and therefore there's normally there'll be prices like on every time you ask your broker to do something with a stock, there'll be a fee. But in Robinhood, those fees are very low or non-existent, which is why a lot of day traders like to use that. So they're all buying GME on Robinhood basically, and now it's a competition between the people at Wall Street Bets and the people at Melvin, which is why you're seeing people saying hold the stock, and then doing the diamond hands emoji, which I'm not completely understanding what exactly that means, but basically it means hold, right?
Yeah,
Kavish?
so diamond hand essentially means that it's not there isn't an exact definition. It's just kind of like a meme that if you just keep holding, the hands implies holding, that you'll eventually reach diamonds as the stock price continues, and the opposite is paper hands, that your willpower is weak and you sell as you see the stocks temporarily dipping. So it's just kind of a meme that people use to hype up each other up to continue to buy more in GME.
All right, so another question, right? So why did Robinhood buy the GME stock? Like, is it like at? I've heard many different explanations, right? One is that like because if people keep on buying stock, it'll crash the site. Another one is that like they did it to like appease investors and like such. So what's the true reason why Robinhood hid the GME stock?
So I can definitely say for sure it's not that it would crash a site. So there are two possible explanations, and I don't think anyone right now can say for sure, as there should be an ongoing investigation in this. But the two reasons are kind of two conspiracies people have come up with. One of them I'm very sure in is that Robinhood simply did not have enough money to continue these trades, because as these trades come in, Robin actually has to temporarily put up their own money to complete these transactions. And due to some type of these trades, they actually borrow money from Robinhood temporarily. So if too many people are borrowing money from Robinhood and Robinhood just doesn't have enough, they're going to just stop people from trading in these stocks that are heavily inquired where people are borrowing money. So that was, I guess, one of the reasons why um, they stopped people from trading, but it didn't really explain why they hit it. I'm guessing they just want to discourage people from, I guess, finding out about GameStop. And going off of that, the second kind of conspiracy is that the company that owns both Melvin Capital and has a large amount of share value within Robinhood is Citadel. They're a massive bank, and people are kind of making this huge conspiracy that Citadel, since they own Melvin Capital and they'd had to kind of pump in some money into Melvin because of their losses, they told Robinhood to shut off these stocks, so the tank amount would tank, and Melvin Capital would be able to sell off some of their shares and make a large amount, enough to recuperate their losses. So again, I'm not exactly sure, but these are kind of the two main reasons why.
And the reason why limiting the buying of stocks not only would like stop people from buying more, but therefore hurting Melvin Capital more, but it would also make investors possibly panic, thinking, well, if I can't buy more, then the game's up, and we have to sell now. And if they sold, that would mean that the amount of stocks available for purchase by Melvin Capital go up because there's more supply and there's less demand. So the price of the stock goes down, and Melvin Capital is able to close their shorts at a lesser price. So that's why a lot of people are accusing Robinhood of trying to do this, to try and force down the stock price, which would technically be market manipulation. While it is in the contract that the terms and service that all the traders agree to when they sign up for Robinhood, it does look kind of scummy, especially if it wasn't about them borrowing. I don't know. I'm more inclined to think it wasn't about that, or maybe that was a factor, but they did a really poor job of explaining that, considering um, the official justification was that they were saying GME was too volatile, so they wouldn't let their traders trade in it. I feel like they should have just said, we don't have enough money up front to allow people to buy GME, so let's cap it at like 3 per customer. And then all the other apps did this as well. It's not just Robinhood. A lot of other apps did this. It seemed to be some sort of coordinated assault. And there's like Kavish mentioned before, NBC put out the report that Melvin had closed on their short positions, which was a lie, hoping that because once Melvin closes on all their short positions, then the game is up. At that point, it's just a game of chicken between all the people on Wall Street bets saying, I haven't sold. Have you sold? Because once people start selling, and there's no more money to be gained other than just people buying the stock and the price going up. At that point, the game is up, because obviously GameStop is not worth $400 a share or whatever it will be when the squeeze happens. It's definitely not worth that. So it's not really a long-term investment. At that point, it's just a game of chicken. So if people think that Melvin is have closed on their positions, that means everybody is going to sell as fast as possible, because at that point, the value will crash. And some people will lose money if they don't sell in time. A lot of people will lose money if they don't sell in time. So um, but yeah, basically the whole conflict is, um, people at Wall Street Bets, they want everybody to hold, and people at Melvin want everybody to sell so that they can close in their shorts. Kavish, do you have anything to add about the situation? Did we cover it pretty well?
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty correct. There is really no exit strategy, at least from what I've seen in Wall Street Bets. People, they're doing this more to make a statement rather than make money, because there's a lot of short companies have a lot of prominent influence within media, and they've been influencing a lot of media companies to tell these investors that, oh, this stock sucks, it's going down, because another large company that media company has ties with is shorting that stock. So they just want to push it down into the ground. And a lot of people are sick of it. So I guess this is kind of their stand against it. So I feel like at this point, it's become less about making money and more about a political issue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great segue into the political topic. One more question before we segue into that then. Why is Elon Musk sort of throwing in with these Wall Street bets people? Isn't he really rich? Isn't he making a lot of money off of stocks himself? Why would he want another rich company like Melvin to go under? Why is he throwing in with Wall Street bets?
So, as I said, shorting is viewed as like unethical because you're driving companies into the ground. And as entrepreneurs, such as Elon Musk himself, he doesn't like it when companies fail. He wants to see everything go up. Even though he is rich, he just does not like it when other companies are being driven into the ground and people lose money. He'd rather see people make money as well. So, I guess for him, it's two things about the clout he'll get from this, because this is a huge situation and he has a lot of influence in it. I'm guessing he also has some stock in it as well, and he's planning to make money, and he just doesn't like what Melvin's doing, as a lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm. And I've seen some reports that Melvin had been bragging about how much money they were making off of shorting Tesla a few years ago. So maybe it might also be kind of personal for him. So thank you, Kavish, for that great explanation. So Kas and me, and I guess Kavish, if you would like to, I guess we're going to kind of talk about really the political things about this. So as Kavish mentioned, a lot of people are throwing in now, even when, because really, if you wanted to make a lot of money, you should have been, the time to jump on would have been when GameStop was at 4 15, maybe 20 $30. Because at $400 a share, you can't buy that many shares really. So even if it does skyrocket to $1,000, you're not going to be really making millions. Where the people who really set this up, and the people on Wall Street Bets who recognized this a while ago, they're the ones who are probably going to be making a whole lot of the money. But a lot of people are throwing in now because every dollar that goes into GameStop, Melvin Capital has to repay, like, I don't know the exact figures, but let's say they have to repay a lot more than a dollar. Every dollar that goes into GameStop, they lose a lot. So a lot of people are kind of taking everything that big hedge funds and people and companies like Melvin Capital did to them um, in 2008, and just screwing over smaller traders, and these people from Melvin Capital and all these big hedge fund managers. They were responsible for the market crash in 2008, destroying so many people's livelihoods, and none of them had any repercussions really. They were fined a couple $1 million. Meanwhile, they made out with billions. So it's not like they really cared. So a lot of people really took that personally and saw this as a opportunity to strike back against Wall Street, and I agree with them. Honestly, this Wall Street Bets has done more really to get back at the people from Wall Street than anybody on the left ever really has in the past 35 years. So because we can do as many protests as we want, but they don't have to care. They really care about the money, and when you cause them to lose billions and billions and billions of dollars, like Melvin Capital has, and tons of hedge funds are going under because of this. when you cause them to lose this much money, that really starts to hurt them. That's when they really start panicking, and they start bringing out the big guns. They start getting the media to fall in line, and the media starts trying to push through slander of the people through Wall Street bets. They try, they take the side of the stock market because the media is just beholden to the interests of capital. At least in my opinion, I just don't see a society where the media doesn't have some sort of beholden interests to capital. In the capital society that I guess we live in, there's things we can do to mitigate that, but really, if your multimillionaire boss is paying your salary, you don't, I mean, multi-billionaire boss is paying your salary, you don't want to say you're not going to really take any anti-capitalist action, otherwise risk getting fired. And if you're too anti-capitalist, they just won't hire you. So there's really never going to be a situation where the media does take the side of the people so much that it really starts to hurt who funds them. That's at least in my opinion. Vikas, what do you have to say about this?
But so my personal opinion is like basically right, like what all of us like have in common, no matter like where we on the political spectrum is, we're like 90, we're the 99, right? So we obviously like had disdain for the elites that like just exploit us while they make money off us. So like obviously it's just like a valid counter reaction on our part to like ensure that like we can play the market to our abilities too, you know? Like capitalism would be good if it was like fair and like equitable to all, but like it's not that way. And like when we try to do it that way, like we're always getting pushed back from the media and these huge companies that want to like utilize their power to like I guess suppress us and or I guess push upwards.
For
So
sure.
like even if not money, like we're actually like we're disproving them and like we're I guess showing our ability to organize and to show that we're a political force to be reckoned with.
For sure, yeah. I mean, it's a scary thing for these people at the top to see what's happening um, right now, and it's definitely it shows the power that we hold, but it also shows really that the market, for all of its um, because this is shorting has been what hedge funds have been doing for years. The people that know about the stock market, they've been engaging in the same type of manipulation. But when with the advent of the internet and phones where people can all learn this information where you don't have to go to school and be super smart. Not that school won't help you, but that you can, if you want to, learn the information on your own, and restore power to the players, as GameStop's motto may be. In that situation, they start to get mad that the regular people are playing the same game that the rich are. That the regular people figured out that the stock market actually doesn't really have actually real principles, because I mean, you tell me how this. Hold on, I'm trying to pull up. I would like to see um a person who went to school uh to learn about the stock market explain how this had just makes any sense, because it I mean, it just doesn't, and that really supports in my mind the idea that this the stock market isn't actually real. Um it's just it kind of makes sense, but you can just break it if you want to, if you have enough money behind something, which is essentially what these large investments firms do. If you have enough money behind something, you can just break the market, and none of it is really real. It's just based off of people acting in good faith and hoping that people will follow the principles in their head and not break from that path. And then if you have enough money, though, you can essentially just do whatever you want, and just completely break the market. So that's sort of what I'm really taking from this, is that we should really consider, is the stock market grounded in real principles, or is it just a casino, dressed up as you know this institution of logic and laws, but is it really, or is it just a glorified casino? So that's really a question that we have to answer, really, in the future. And this was something that came up after the Great Depression. People saying, how can money just disappear? How can value just just go away. It doesn't make any sense. Where is this money going? Obviously, we know why, but why should this be happening in a society that makes sense? We have to live in one where there are rules that can, natural laws that can be followed, because that's just how the world around us works, and that allows stability, and stability allows people to grow and society to progress. But in the stock market, where there is no rules, it's basically like if you have enough money, you can just break the rules. Um, should we have this? Is this really a institution that we want around, where if you have enough money, you can um, just break it entirely? So that's a question that we need to look into in the future, and that's why all this, well, there's so much regulation around the stock market after the Great Depression. FDR went in, and he decided, we need to have some regulation. We need to make sure that there can't be huge ginormous crashes like this again. um, we have to have some sort of stability. Vikas, do you have a take on this?
Not really. You kind of summarized it well.
So leading in, I guess, to what will the government do about this? There's been the vast outcry is basically that this needs to be looked into. What Robinhood is doing is just, while technically in their contract should not be allowed, you should not be able to restrict day traders from trading in the stock market because they're doing well. That's like, if you're losing a video game, you turn off the console and say, okay, well, no one lost, because the game didn't finish. That's basically what they're doing by stopping people from buying. They're hitting the pause button and letting these large the large institutions come out on top, since those are kind of the donors, on the people who fund a lot of people in government. But a lot of the people obviously see that this is wrong, and a lot of the people that fancy themselves populists, and maybe and really just people in general in government, because there's only so much you can oppose. There's some ground that you have to give with the people, or otherwise you're just going to get voted out. So we see AOC, of course, we see Ted Cruz, who's trying to kind of jump on, and all these politicians that are coming out and saying, we're going to look into what Robinhood is doing. So hopefully the FEC, is it FCC or is it FCE?
SEC.
FCC. Okay. Hopefully, the FCC definitely comes in to look at it, to evaluate whether what Robinhood did was wrong, and maybe we get some regulation around this. But I definitely really hope that it's not the other way around, where we get regulation around day trading, and we get the poors are no longer allowed to trade stocks. We're gonna leave it up to the all the people. All these hedge funds, and they're now going to be the only ones, or some sort of restrictions. I really hope that doesn't happen. Restrictions around day trading would just be, I mean, that's like what what kind of society do we live in, where only, I mean, this is like just taking us back to feudalism. I mean, this is only the nobles are smart enough to know how to fight, I guess, and that's why only the nobles can be generals in wars, versus promoting people off of a meritocracy, where um, you know and here we're talking about Napoleonic principles, where Napoleon recognized, okay, it's no longer going to be the nobility who gets to be in charge. It's going to be, you're in charge if you do well, and that's how we get we get the best fighting force. So I guess I'm trying to use this as a metaphor for day trading and stuff like that. Kavish, do you have any opinions on day trading,
Yeah,
restrictions on it?
actually, what you're saying, there are actually quite a lot of restrictions already. You need to have, I'm not sure of the exact number, so I don't want to throw anything out there, but I know you need a good amount of money within your account to day trade, which basically prevents a lot of poor people from day trading if they don't meet their requirement. And it basically kind of blocks off the stock market for only the wealthy. So there already is a heavy amount of, I guess, regulations that favor these big companies. And I think what happens is you need more regulations that favor, I guess, the 99%, and that make it easier for the 99% to trade and harder for the 1% to continue to manipulate the market and make money off of other people losing money.
I think we finished it beautifully. I think we've came to good conclusions and such. So any last remarks, maybe final two sentences anyone has to add, or do you think it's good to end?
I would just want to say, let's hope that power is restored to the players, and that there's not another bailout. Not sure which way it's going to spin. Honestly, it just depends on how much people know. If people aren't really too educated on this topic, which is why I wanted to make this video, if people aren't too educated on this topic and people aren't defending Wall Street bets really and aren't taking their side, then the people in government that may want to try and side with the companies, we can force them to not do that. If we say, if you do that, we're going to vote you out. So if we just get enough people to know the information of the situation, and hopefully, most people will stand in solidarity with their own, and stand with the people, with with in class solidarity, basically, saying, Wall Street bets they're not the problem. It's the hedge funds that are shorting ridiculous amounts of um, GameStop stock, in on the betting on the misery of the GameStop employees, and the people that work there, basically. Hopefully power is restored to the players, and not sure which way it's going to spin. All depends on how many people know about the situation, meaning how many people can really hold um, the government people accountable. Because in 2008 there was not enough. The government got away with bailing out everybody responsible versus jailing them, which is really what should have happened. There should have been repercussions. So hopefully it doesn't go that way this time, but we'll see.
And for anyone still wondering if GameStop is a viable stock to buy, I would say completely invest your life savings, take out your parents' mortgage, pull from the 401k. I think it is a actually good time to jump in. The short squeeze is going to happen soon. And if you're still new to trading, use applications like Webull or Vanguard. I'd stay away from Robinhood since there may still be restrictions and you could lose a lot of money. But I would definitely say GameStop, AMC, a bunch of those meme stocks, it's prime time to get in and make a lot of money.
And just remember, Kavish is not a financial investor and cannot be held legally liable for any losses that you may incur. All right, thank you, Kavish, for coming on. Thank you, Vikaas, and thank you for the viewers for watching through it. I hope you learned something. Hope you enjoyed. And that's about it. All I have to say. Anybody, in case you have anything else to say it now, or it's gonna be it.
All right, so just one thing, I feel bad for the poor hedge fund manager, like he won't be able to buy his ninth Lambo or like 10th house at this point, like he can't exploit us anymore. Like think about not exploiting people, act like a normal person. It's so hard, right? Just think about that.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, man, these poor hedge fund billionaires, they can't buy their fourth yacht this summer. They have to wait till next summer, which is unfortunate. I mean, imagine having to live without four yachts. It's really something. All right, thank you everybody for watching, and hopefully we'll see you in another video. All right, thank you.